we need to understand the story behind chapter 2, where the story started with Mary, with Moses' mother, that she conceived the child, had the baby, and kept her for 3 months, and then later put the baby in a basket. In chapter 1, we are told of the story where a new king emerged who didn't know Joseph and didn't know all the lovely works that Joseph did, and how Joseph saved Egypt from famine and from disgrace, and the role Joseph played that made Egypt a superpower and a prominent nation among the nations of the world. Refused to recognize Joseph and didn't know Joseph, and for that matter decided to inflict hardship on the children of Israel who were the descendants of Joseph. He recognized that the people were growing in their numbers, and now they were getting afraid that in case there was going to be a war, perhaps these foreigners, these aliens, being the Israelites, will probably align with foreigners, and then they will end up fight the Egyptians should there be a war with another country. So he called for a cabinet meeting and made a decision that, listen, let's do whatever we can to stop their growth. Because if they grow in their numbers, we cannot stop them. And should there be an external war between us and other country, they will join the other country against us. So they inflicted punishment on the children of Israel. They made situations difficult for them. But the Bible said the more Pharaoh made situations worse, the more God blessed them. The more they change the economic policies against them, the more God bless them. If God is with you, nothing can stop the blessings of God over your life. No friend, no enemy can stop the purposes of God concerning your life and the life of your family. Oh, somebody clap and shout, I believe it. That is what happened. The more they inflicted troubles upon Israel, the more the Israelites were blessed. Then Pharaoh realized that they were getting into more trouble. So the final decision he took was that all male children, any birth, any child born, if a girl, spare the girl, if a boy, kill the boy at birth. So they called the 2 principal nursing officers, and Pharaoh gave them instruction. Make sure that if you are delivering the Hebrew women, the moment it's a girl, spare the girl. If a boy, kill the boy at birth. After a period of time, they still realized the boys were being born. So Pharaoh called the 2 nursing officers and said, how dare you didn't listen and to obey my instruction? And the 2 nursing women said, listen, the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women. The Egyptian women, when they go into labor, it takes so long a time before they could deliver. But for the Hebrew women, when they go into labor, before we can say Jack, the baby is born. So anytime we will arrive, they had the baby already. So it was becoming difficult. So now they made sure that all children, whether male, at a particular age, needs to be killed. But the story said, for the 2 women, they did not listen to Pharaoh because they feared God. And because they spared the children, God blessed them too. And so it was within that period of time, Jochebed conceived as a mother and then brought forth a child. And for the purpose of the discussion, it was the princess who gave the name called Moses. But brought forth this baby, and the Bible said she looked at the baby and saw the baby to be different. So this is how the story emerged. And we will look at some principal observations about Jochebed, the woman, and how she managed the crisis of taking care of Moses. Number 1, she was a courageous woman. Courageous because the environment was so hostile that they were killing the babies, the boy child. And yet when she had the boy child, she said, I'm not going to allow this baby to be killed. That could also affect her. She could also be killed herself. She could be killed. But she said as a mother, I would rather prefer to die than to allow to see my child die. So she was courageous and hid the baby, the Bible said, for 3 solid months. I am sure neighbors will come around and it's like, Jochebed, I mean, you are risking your life, oh. You wonder why we haven't heard the story about the name of the husband. We are not too sure where the father was at this time. I know typical feminist women will probably tell me that the father was irresponsible and ran away. Maybe if it is in an American environment, we'll say, yeah, that was probably a father who probably has been jailed. But we are not too sure the story about the father. But historians and Bible theologians suggested that perhaps the father just died at the time the woman got pregnant. So we are not too sure because there was no story nor information about the father. So we are now talking of a single woman who was embracing a challenge in the midst of an hostile environment. And perhaps the first month neighbors will come around and then they will still hear the baby cry. And they say, listen, you are risking your life. Was she reported to the authorities? We don't know. But she said, I will stand to defend my baby. Hear me, women, you can rise up and stand to defend your children. If you look at what is going on in our country, where things are probably not going well with people, women, you can rise up and protect and save this nation. Our water bodies have been destroyed, and we are told 10 years from now, we will import water. Are you aware that in all the mining areas, mothers are bringing forth deformed babies? Are you aware that mothers are bringing forth babies with 6 fingers, 6 toes, with, deformed face like an animal? It is not only the women over there. All women should rise up and go to Jubilee House and tell them this nonsense must stop. They have failed to preserve our resources, and the next 15 years, our children will suffer. So when things are not going well, women rise up and march and tell the government, if it is not well, tell them we are not happy. Jochebed was a courageous woman.